Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Late Challenge podcast. I am Mo Stewart, and Gareth Roberts is not here today. He's on daddy duty, so we've got Paul Cope to come back in. Gareth, I know you're watching, so I'll say a little wave to you from the sofa. But Copey, people have been begging to get you back on for a while, so here you are. How have you been, mate?
Good, man. Really good. Thank you. Nice to know people have been asking for me to be back. But we'll talk about our Saturday night shenanigans in a while, won't we?
Oh, yes, we will.
It's actually my second appearance in about 3 days. So I'm like Andy Robertson. The legs are going. I'm actually feeling fatigue today. So that'll be a nice way to get into the.
Unfortunately, we've got no subs for the subs. So you just
have to. I've got to do the full thing.
Yeah, we might.
What would it be? Halfway through the Patreon, I just fuck off. It's you're just playing with 10 men.
Yeah.
Where did Copey go? He was just too tired.
Sorry.
Just had to leave.
Sorry,
Pulled
everyone.
his hamstring.
But no, we are here. I made it a good maybe 2.5 minutes through without mentioning the fact that the last time Liverpool played football, it was awful. Yeah.
We actually joked about not doing anything about the City game, and just before we went live, we talked in the 2 minutes before we went live about Donald Trump and God. I was like, we could do 2 hours on this.
Yeah, we can quite easily pivot to that. So yeah, I will have to. In fact, that reminds me, I need to get the YouTube video up so I can check out the comments. So if you'd rather us talk about the world and wonderful things happening in the world rather than Liverpool getting beat, do let us know, because we're more than happy to pivot in that direction. But yes, as Copey mentioned, the fact we did have our live show, our maiden live show on Saturday just gone, and it was fantastic. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to tell you all about it. There's going to be a few highlights of things that we did there, a few questions that came up there that we're going to bring to you as well. But yeah, I guess we have to talk about football first. We were all very, very positive about the Reds on Saturday night. I think we were all handing them the Champions League, and I think some people didn't even entirely rule them out of the title race.
I said League and Champions League double.
Yeah, you did. I didn't want to throw you under the bus.
I could tell. You were being nice to me there, mate. I was like, I'll just confess. Getting carried away. I was laughing to myself watching it yesterday going, fucking hell. How quickly football can make you look like an absolute fool.
Oh, yes.
Getting carried away, and then we're back. It's all great. Everyone's positive. You're like, it's not.
No. I mean, well, Robbo's entry last week was about don't call it a comeback because we were always here. And it's like, well, there's a reason you can't call it a comeback, and it ain't that. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we do have a reputation here at this show for trying to be reasonable, trying to at least accentuate the positive more often than not. It's not going to be easy today because there was very little positivity that came out of that game. Liverpool were bad. It was a 3-0 defeat, a showing lacking quality, lacking character, lacking belief. Obviously, we'll come on to talk about the decisions from the officials that didn't go our way, but it's really hard to argue that they were the reason Liverpool lost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm getting back into training, and my trainer's a blue nose, and he's sound. 2 things that don't always go hand in hand. And I was saying to him today, you know how bad a performance has been when the fan base of the side who the big decisions went against don't use those as any form of excuse. Like, I haven't seen one Liverpool fan ranting about the decisions, because we'll talk about them, and obviously it's like, you know, the big one, the goal. It's like, well, I think it's wrong, but everybody follows that up with, but we were shit anyway. Like, actually, if we'd have come away with a result, it would have been daylight robbery, wouldn't it? There is more to that though, which we'll get into. But that does show you how bad it was, generally speaking, doesn't it? It's very rare that football fans are that sort of pushing away the bad decisions to, like, they're not affecting the game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very easy in the modern world for people to get very upset and angry about referees, and particularly considering there seems to be something every week that they're not doing right, or a comparison between a decision that went one way one week, and then you can find historical evidence of one that was exactly the same that was given the complete opposite way, as is the case with that disallowed goal. But yeah, I generally don't like talking about refs when the team plays badly. And I think most people have come over to my side of the fence on that, because it's like, you just feel like a bit of an idiot, because anyone who actually watched the game will know that before we even got to that point, City were miles ahead. I mean, some people could even argue about the penalty, but then Liverpool get away with the penalty because they save it, which is the only positive thing that happens in the whole game. But yeah, were you surprised at how bad it was considering the week we've just had, or do you think that maybe the exertions of those two games kind of caught up with them?
Well, both is my answer to that question, but the first part, yes. I didn't even get into this on Saturday night when we talked about it at the live show, but I honestly expected us to beat them. Like watching us against Madrid, and when I saw this week coming up, Villa, Madrid, City, after what we've had recently, and all the problems we've had with the fucking Wimbledon reincarnation, and we've clearly struggled with that, and we need to adapt to it, and I'm sure we will, and Slot will be working on it day and night to figure it out. Sound. But when you see that week coming up of like 3 teams who are going to play us, and it starts off with Villa doing what they did, and I was laughing at that thinking, well, this is a blessing and a curse, isn't it? Because I haven't been on to talk about that. I know you'll have been over this to death, but like, great we won that game, and it was great again. We played then. Madrid were never going to change the way they played, but every other team in the league will have watched the Villa game and gone, see, that's why you don't play out from the back against them. Don't do that. Like, so there were pros and cons to that, but at the end of the day, we knew we were going to play 3 teams that were going to play us, and the way we played against Real Madrid on Tuesday night was just phenomenal. I was chatting to someone else this morning about this and said, it's hilarious. This must have happened 4 or 5 times in my life that we've played Real Madrid. I think it happened under Benitez. Definitely happened under Klopp. I might be exaggerating with 4 or 5, 2 or 3. But in the run up to us playing Real Madrid, they were like unbelievable. They were the best team. It happened with Leverkusen last year with Alonso. When we're playing a team and as they come into play us, they're in unbelievable form and everyone's saying how great they are. Then we batter them and everyone goes, they didn't play that well. And you go, sorry, hang on. Everyone's, well, Real Madrid didn't turn up. I'm like, no, Real Madrid didn't turn up because we were unbelievable. Let's not downplay all of a sudden how good Vinicius is and how good Mbappe is. Look at the stats, and you could see Slot doing that after the game, like banging on about the stats. Look how well we did. So when you see that and think, right, and then I watched a bit of City Dortmund the next night, and there's a wider topic here of like how far ahead the Premier League is getting from most of the rest of Europe. It's literally the Premier League and then 3 or 4 teams who can compete with us. Everybody else, I looked at Dortmund and thought, you're nowhere near now. Like,
they're second in their league.
Exactly. And I watched them against City and I thought, you're not very good. And 2 things, City beat them easily, but Dortmund cut through them a few times.
Yeah, they did.
So all of these factors came into me thinking, I think we're going to go to the Etihad in this form. We've got 5 days rest. He can play the same team. We'll do exactly the same thing. We'll be fucking great. We'll be solid, and we'll cut them open. We'll score at least 2 against them. So I expected us to win. So when the game started the way it did, and you're there going, oh.
Yeah, it's one of them.
This is not... And we've mentioned already, Joe, Saturday night, we're all like pumped up going, yeah, Liverpool are back and all that. I was surprised how bad it was, and then as you've sort of reflect on it more, there are more. It makes you worry more about stuff. But shout out to a coaching client of mine and mate, really really good lad, Anthony, if he's watching. He mentioned something this morning that I hadn't thought of, so I want to give him credit for this, which is Slot beat Guardiola twice last year, and he's the only manager, like, I think they gave a stat at the beginning of the Sky, like, he's the only manager to have done that who's won more than once. Yeah. I know he's only played them twice, but there is no way in a million years Guardiola hasn't been up day and night figuring out how to make sure they beat us in that game.
Yes.
And I think we've all fallen into the trap a little bit. I definitely have, so I might be projecting. But even just looking around at the way everyone talks about City, I think we've all just sort of forgotten how good Pep Guardiola is and how much money they've spent on their team. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've been written off for the league, no chance, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, it's Pep Guardiola. And let's be clear, they've spent hundreds of millions on the team to rebuild it. They've still got Haaland up front and they've put Donnarumma in goal. Just those 2 things. I talk about this at every level of football. Like, if you've got a 5-a-side team with a lad who can score and a lad who can keep the ball out the net, you can pretty much win most games. So I'm a little bit sort of like saying to myself, you've been a bit of a dickhead here, downplaying them so much. So the fact that we were tactically outsmarted on Sunday in hindsight, doesn't surprise me.
No, and it's weird, isn't it? Because I was listening to Slot in the press conference on Friday, and he was saying, referencing what you were saying about Villa and Madrid and how you always knew how they were going to play, and he was like, 9 out of 10, or maybe even 10 times out of 10, Man City play the same way, and I was like, well, they do and they don't. They've kind of sneakily been a little bit more direct, a little bit less possession based, and I mean, let's not forget they do have the other Pep on the coaching staff as well, and you are starting to see a little bit more of his influence. Actually, side note, on leaving the ground, I actually ran into him and his family, and he looked very happy. I didn't stop to congratulate him. I just let him go on with his day.
Do you know, on that same side note, I did notice Sky they stayed on Guardiola for the celebration of the goals, but didn't show the City bench. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if our Pep has just thought, I'll just stay quiet here. Joe, can we stay away from the cameras, please?
Because he did used to have a reputation of overzealously celebrating goals when he was with Jurgen, and he actually got into trouble with some of the other opposing bosses for that. But yeah, we didn't go into any of that. But yeah, the idea that Guardiola would just, do the same thing and be almost predictable in a way, I felt was a little bit... yeah, unlikely. And then there was all the stuff around the fact that it was his 1,000th game in management, which they say they laid it on thick. They laid it on thick. There was, I think, 3 different banners around the ground, and then you have the kind of like the digital screen thing that they have that goes all the way out, like around the perimeter.
Yeah,
they had it on there as well. 1,000 games, 1,000 games, 1,000 games. By the way, those 1,000 games include managing Barcelona B.
Oh, do they?
Yes. And now I know that Barcelona B officially are in the second division of Spain. Like the B team of Barcelona and Real Madrid, I think, go into like the equivalent of our championship.
Yeah.
Which tells you a lot about the rest of the Spanish league, by the way. But come on, are we counting those? Really? But anyway, so there was all that pomp and circumstance and grandeur about him. So he was always going to make sure that party wasn't spoiled. And yeah, I think Slot has come out and said quite a lot how much he is a fan of Guardiola and how much he studied him when he was at other teams like AZ and telling his team how to do things based on some of what Pep had done. So yeah, when he came up against the master to beat him, like you said, twice out of 2 times early on, it definitely would have stirred something within him. And what we saw was him kind of using Liverpool against him. I mean, people have pointed out the fact that Conor Bradley a lot of the time had 2 players to deal with, because we've seen Mo Salah, he doesn't really track back as much as a normal winger would do. There's been lots of debate around that. But on the other side as well, you had, whenever Robbo would go forward, there'd always be someone that darting in behind him and just creating indecision amongst the Liverpool players pretty much all over the pitch. And I think that's the most worrying thing for me over everything, is that this team look very unsure of themselves and each other. Like, there's lots of instances of players who didn't really look like they believed or trusted their teammates, and that kind of worried me.
Yeah, there's loads in all of this, and I've got a wider picture thing at the moment, and I'm gonna have to reflect on this myself and watch him more, because I might be guilty of the exact thing I'm gonna accuse him of. But I've started noticing Jamie Carragher's analysis of certain things, that what I'm starting to see is he'll pick a point, and then he uses footage to prove his point. But I'm just seeing confirmation bias, because there's also footage sometimes in the same clips he's using to prove him wrong and don't support his point, and he just completely ignores them. It was the bit I first noticed was when he was analysing our press the other week against Villa, and he was picking apart the press, and I was like, we scored from the press. And it's like, yeah, but they just gave the ball to us, and like, we still scored from that same thing. And then I think even the Gravenberch goal second came from the same type of press. And he was like, no, Joe, we need to go man to man and all this. And I was like, this is interesting. And did you see his analysis of their first goal the way City were going very narrow, and a couple of people had mentioned it, and Neville mentioned it, blah, blah. And this is the thing I'm more worried about than anything for Liverpool is all of that stuff is sound. Yeah, Joe Guardiola has outsmarted you there and he's overloaded you, blah, blah, blah. Let's just break it down, right? Forget all of that. Forget the fact that they got out of that position in the corner with all of those things, which there's a few mistakes from our players, even just letting them out of there.
Yep.
Sometimes the other team is fucking good at football, right? When we do that, we go, aren't we good at football? Sometimes that just happens. That's okay. Park that for a second, right? And then just go right to the end of the whole move. At the end of the whole move, we've got Virgil van Dijk in the left-back position, Robbo and Canate in the centre-back positions, and we're in position. Everything's okay. Then we make 3 individual mistakes from 3 highly experienced players that lead to a goal. That if you just ignore what's gone on before with all the tactics, all you've actually got is a fullback with the ball in the right wing position and a centre forward in the middle of the box. And they score from that. Yeah. So I'm like, right, okay, mistake number 1, which Carragher's right about saying, Virgil is desperate to get back to the fucking middle.
Yes,
and
he is.
I was thinking about this, like my brain coming up with analogies. It reminded me of, do you know in cricket, when you've got like the batsman running, and you get one of the batsmen who's like, we can steal one more run here. And he runs and the other fella's going, no. But because he keeps coming, at some point the other fella either becomes a cunt and just goes, fuck you, mate. But that takes a lot of psychological strength, especially when the other guy's the dominant man, right? So at some point, when the other guys come so far towards you, you go, fuck it, I'm going to have to run now. But you know it's too late. You're never going to get there. So then you get halfway down the fucking creek and you're out.
Yeah.
And then you look around at your mate and go, you prick, because he's safe. And you're the cunt. That's what that whole thing with Robbo and Van Dijk looked like. Robbo's going, stay there. And Van Dijk's going, no. I'm coming back. So then by the time Robbo goes to run out, it's too late to do the move, right? Either do it both at the same time or don't do it at all. Trent and Robbo used to do that brilliantly. Do after corners when they swapped sides.
And sometimes it would be minutes that they'd be on the wrong side.
Exactly
because
that.
They knew that they had to wait for the right time.
100%. And you would hear commentators getting confused by it. Because 5 minutes later, Trent's playing left back and Robbo's playing right back. And because the commentator's an idiot, or the co-commentator, they've forgotten we were defending a corner. But that's how long they would stay in that position for. Because it was just like, no, we just stay here until the absolute right time. If we'd have done that, if Van Dijk had just stayed there till the absolute right time, he would have stopped that cross and we wouldn't have conceded a goal. Right? Mistake number 1. But he does make the mistake and he goes too early. Robertson has to come out. My jokey comparison with cricket aside, if you watch Robertson closing that, it's like you go, oh, he can never get there. Bullshit. Jamie Carragher's shown it going, the ball moves faster than the man. That would have been true if when the ball got, I think it was Nunes who crossed it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When the ball got played back to him, if he'd have crossed it first time, like an amazing winger would have done, yes, Robbo could never got there, but he didn't.
He could have tied his laces.
Fucking 10 touches. Yeah, he literally could have done that. Like you used to do when you were a kid, and like put your foot on the ball and knock it in with your head on the. You're taking the piss to score a goal.
Yeah.
So Robbo, watch it again. Robbo presses halfway and then stops.
Yeah.
If he'd have just kept sprinting to the man with the ball, he would have stopped that cross. So, and he didn't.
No.
Wirtz, I mean, you can also add another half mistake to this because Wirtz is close to him and doesn't press him properly.
He doesn't.
So maybe even 3 mistakes already. And then even after all of those, right, all of this mix-up, all of the Guardiola's a genius for overloading the midfield and isolating the fullback and all of this stuff, the lad crosses the ball into our box and one of our best players from previous seasons, who is a France international centre-back, all he needs to do for all of this stuff that I've been talking about for fucking minutes now, for all of this stuff to become completely irrelevant, all he has to do is jump and head the fucking ball. And I know you can get too basic about high-level football, but literally, he doesn't get off the ground high enough. And I don't know what he's trying to do. There is no pressure on him from Haaland. Haaland's like half a metre away from him. He's not like pushing on. All he has to do is jump up and head it. And instead he tries to do some flick and misses it. And that leads to the goal. And you're like, lads, These are very basic things we're getting wrong here, and
yeah.
that's worrying.
Yeah, and like you say, these are seasoned pros. All of the people, well, Wirtz is still a young player, but the main three you just spoke about, these are players who've played in Champions League finals, who've played in league title winning teams. And,
This is it, the league and Champions League winners.
yeah, and you'd hope that they would have the nous to be able to, do some of those things. But I think this is a little bit like these are things that happen when you're in a situation where there is indecision and doubts creeping in. And I don't know whether it's doubts about the game plan, doubts about the abilities of each other to still be as good as they were. I mean, you look at Konate, he's not had a great season. I think everyone would say there's been a couple of games where he's been very good, but in a weird way, the games where he's really good have made it worse for the games where he's really bad, because it's like he's still in there. We're not seeing him. And again, I always kind of bristle at the idea of hammering one player when everyone's bad. But I think what we see with Konate too often is that when he's bad, he's really bad. And like, I think it started to affect other players. So like even the penalty incident where if he doesn't go over there, Bradley's probably got that dealt with. But no, he goes over, plants a ball against him.
It's like if you could do that in slow motion and just pause it for a second, Bradley would turn over and turn around and go to him. Mate, what are you doing here? I don't need you to be here. Like, did you watch me midweek? Like, I had Vinicius Jr. in my pocket. Yeah. I'm fine, mate. What are you doing? But there's a bigger picture thing about this as well, though, which I know other people will have talked about. I'm guessing I don't watch much stuff, as we realised before we started recording, when I don't know about Trump getting sued by the BBC, but or suing the BBC. The Konate thing, I think the bigger picture thing that worries me most about that is we decided tactically not to go the extra mile to get Gay in the summer. Now, we did that knowing that our centre-back options were Van Dijk, Konate, Joe Gomez and Leone. Leone was replacing Quansah, and he's younger and less experienced. Yes. So the plan was never to play him in the first team, unless in cases of emergency, in the Premier League and Champions League. That was never the plan,
certainly
even without an
Christmas.
Injury. Exactly. So then you're left with Van Dijk, Konate and Joe Gomez. Now, if you're not going to go the extra mile to get Gay when you could have done, extra 10 million 4 weeks before the deadline, you get him. You box it off. The implication I'm seeing from my side, or the inference I'm taking, is you've got 3 first choice centre backs that you're willing to play. What we have seen since the start of the season is he has zero fucking intention of playing Joe Gomez in the Premier League or Champions League from the start of a game. Because if he hasn't been able to get into the team when Konate's been so inconsistent, Slot just doesn't fancy him. And I know people will say, like, he's had his chance in the Carabao Cup and stuff, and he hasn't been great. And you're like, come on, fellas, like, put Konate in that team, surrounded by no first team players and with Endo in front of him. He'd have been as shit as Gomez. Whenever we've seen Gomez alongside Van Dijk, like we have with loads of players over the years, he's looked fucking sound.
That's true.
So what it raises questions on the bigger picture for me, that if you were never intending on playing Joe Gomez, you've done that thing we did the other year with too big a roll of a dice. Because not only you're banking on the fitness of Konate and Van Dijk, you're saying that they're going to have to both stay in form. And that is a dangerous thing to do with any footballers. We all know, Klopp used to say this, you create competition in your squad because that keeps everybody on their toes. You have to do less management. If you know you've got your place no matter what, psychologically it can just take that 1% away. On top of that, and again, shout out to Anthony for this, because I'd forgotten about this, Konate's in the last year of his contract.
Yes, he is.
We don't know what's gone on behind the scenes. We don't know if... think about the talks with Van Dijk, Salah and Trent. It was all... even with all the stuff going on, the club clearly want to keep those 3 players.
Yeah.
If the price is right. For all we know, Konate's not had a fucking chat. For all we know, they're like, we're all right with him going. A bit in similar way to Diaz. If he goes, if we get it, maybe he thought if Gay comes in, he was off. He's uncertain about his future. All these things that can all play into it as well.
I think there was a certain element of the amount that Konate was allegedly asking for, they were never going to get to. So it's almost as if, well, if you can find someone else who's going to pay you that much, then yeah, maybe we will have to work on it. But it's an interesting comparison because Salah, Van Dijk, and even Trent, even if he did have a few stinkers, for the most part in that contract season, they were fantastic. I mean, Salah was the best player in the league. Van Dijk got into the team of the year and in the Ballon d'Or categories. Konate not going in the same direction. Now, I do want to pause this for a little bit of extra positivity. I have to give a shout out to an old friend of ours, Matt Donaldson, who used to work with us at Amphorap, who has thrown in £100 into the chat. Well in, Matt. I've just been looking.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I've been looking at your Instagram and I've been seeing what you've been up to as well. Been a very busy boy, so really pleased to see things are going well for you, and nice one for that as well. Someone else in the chat wanted us to kind of go back over the decisions. They said that we were poor yesterday, but you're burying your head in the sands if you don't think the decisions have an impact on that result. Yes, they were poor, but the penalty is debatable. They're one. Well, yes, you can say that goals change games. I think that's fair to say. However, I do still think that from the defensive point of view, at best, like Liverpool scoring that goal does not suddenly stop Doku running ragged through us and doesn't suddenly mean that we're going to defend it any better. So if you look at the rest of the game, we created a couple of chances. I wouldn't say they were so the Gakpo one at the back post, Salah running through. You think on another day those two are goals, but I think that the majority of the game was City dominating, and it felt like they could also turn it up whenever they wanted. So even within the context of goals change games, etc., I didn't see a world where Liverpool could do enough good for long enough to get a result. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I can probably argue, my old lawyer hat on. I could argue both sides of it, I think, because the truth is goals do massively change games, and we have seen it in the past. And Slot even referenced last year's. It's funny because my brain, and it's his full-time job and he gets paid millions of pounds to do it, so he should remember more than I do, considering it's just something I watch in my spare time. But he's got it seems like he's got a proper sort of photographic memory for previous games. Mm-hmm. And he referenced last year's game actually being very similar. And this is something I bang on about a lot. And I said it on Saturday night, it is crazy when you step back and you watch how the narrative of football is so dictated by the score.
Yeah.
And I know everybody says this, the only... Roy Keane's a big one for this. And whenever I see him say it, I'm like, this is why you can't get a job as a manager anymore, though, mate. Because what you're saying is from the 1990s. Basically the only stat that matters is the goals. And I'm like, but it's just not true.
No.
In the moment, it's true. Yes, whether we win or lose this game, it's true. But all the... not even just in football, the greatest sports coaches of all time almost disregard the scoreboard because they know that in the long term, the performance stats are the most important stats, the underlying stats.
Yep.
Because if you get them right for long enough, the scoreboard will take care of itself. And especially in a sport like football, where it's such small margins. And Slot said this, and you can see the smile on his face as he's saying it. The Villa game and the United game at home, we lose against United, we beat Villa. So it's a disaster against United and everything's great against Villa. Slot said we were better against United.
Yes.
We were.
The funny thing is I watched him say that and my first reaction was, and Tony Barrett was sitting next to him's first reaction was, but like you say, when you think about it, and as he explained it in terms of the chances created in both games, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I can 100%. See what you mean. And I mean, for me, I did think that obviously the whole energy effort without the ball stuff was probably better against Villa. But in terms of how we view the game based on who scored, who didn't score, all that kind of stuff, it is 100% true.
Well, and look, the same thing again. Villa game, Morgan Rogers has a shot. And just, again, boil it down to just brass tacks in the moment. At the point he has that shot, we have already done all the things we're going to do. right? He's already defensively, we've allowed him to have a shot. The only reason that doesn't go in is because he's off target by 2 inches.
Yeah.
Not because of anything we've done differently. We haven't put him off. We haven't defended better. The goalie doesn't tip it onto the post. It just hits the post. If that shot is 2 inches to the left, we go 1-0 down. It's a different game.
Very different game.
Same with every game of football. And that is just the way it is. So this sort of long-winded way of coming back to whoever made the point of, the goals do change games, and they've definitely changed the narrative around games. Even that, Joe, for all of me saying, or like all the criticisms of us for the first goal against City, even when it went in, Joe, live, when you're watching something live, this happens to me so often when I'm watching a game of football. Do you ever get this when the ball looks like it's going in, and then it's like a magic eye picture? It's like a trick. It's like coming the other way.
Yeah.
The ball's not even going towards the goal, and I'm like, that's weird. When that ball went in, I looked at it and thought, that was weird. The trajectory of that ball seemed weird. And even the way Marmadashvili reacted to it seemed weird. And then when you watch it back, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
It basically hit him it hit him on the face.
Yeah.
And then it spooned in.
Yeah,
and even his reaction, his celebration seemed weird. It was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I scored, hooray.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, yes, I scored an amazing goal, because he knew he just hit him in the face.
Exactly.
But, I mean, even that, like, there's just an inevitability about him scoring, and it's just annoying. And having seen him miss the penalty, you think, well, maybe today that it doesn't happen. And then, unfortunately, the inevitable seems to.
But this is something about football as well, which we've seen over the years. And I did think this a few weeks ago about Arsenal. I keep trying to change my mind about them, but we've seen this, Joe. In the season, City, one of the seasons they pipped us to the title, the Vincent Kompany Screamer season.
Yeah.
You just have a feeling sometimes that, Joe, these things are going in. These shots are going in for one team, and they're just hitting the inside of the post for another team. You're getting the bounce of the ball more than you were before. The year we won it, that happened to us.
Yeah.
And you could sense it. We all sense it when we're going to win the Champions League, don't we?
Yeah.
Because these things go our way.
It's starting to go, oh, hello. We know what this smells like. And yeah, I mean, speaking of which, we've not really spoken much about the goal that was disallowed. Lots of people have referenced the goal that City scored against Wolves that looked very similar. Bernardo Silva was offside. In fact, literally impeding the goalkeeper, then comes back onside in time for Stones to head the ball in. That one was given. The VAR for that game was the on-field ref for the game yesterday.
Really?
Yes. And
I love the way the refs always get themselves in this shit, don't they? Like,
I mean, if you do it long enough, you're going to end up contradicting yourself. It's almost like talking about football. It's the same way as refereeing football. Yeah. But obviously, I think most people, there's been a few dissenters. Our friend, Mr. Keane, someone on TalkSport as well, I think. But other than that, I think 95% of football have said that should have been a goal. The thing, and I said this on the Anthem Rap this morning, so excuse me for repeating myself this one time. The thing that annoyed me, though, even outside of the context of the fact that probably shouldn't have been a goal, Liverpool having an advantage at set pieces would have been flagged up before the game. Liverpool have been scoring from set pieces a lot more in recent weeks. City have been conceding from them a lot more in recent weeks. And yet, having had that goal disallowed, Liverpool didn't threaten from any of the set pieces they had that game. There was like 7 corners in total in that game and a couple of free kicks, like the one that we scored against Real Madrid from. Didn't really get a shot on target from any of them. And it's just like, you've proven that it works. You've proven that you have the upper hand against them. Use it again. Do it again. If you're upset about that goal not going in, do it again. But they didn't.
Well, you're probably more on top of this than I am. But has Salah been taking corners before the City game?
I hadn't seen it, no.
I've not noticed him taking corners. So when he took the one that Van Dijk scored from, didn't he? All of a sudden I was like, ooh, this is new. I like this. And then, so obviously we've decided we're going to take in-swinging corners and he's the best man to do it. But then I noticed on the other side, Verted was taking corners a few weeks ago and they were shit. And we've seen this over the years, right? Some players, no matter how good they are, for whatever reason, don't take good corners. And if you look at Arsenal, Gabriel rightly gets a lot of praise and they've obviously got this set piece coach and all the rest of it. But the reality is, the delivery from their set pieces is fucking phenomenal.
Declan Rice is really, really consistent on that.
And do you remember at Anfield, like when we beat them at Anfield, something that was noticeable that day was he was just having a stinker. Like you could see it in his own face. He was like, I don't know what is fucking wrong with my boots today, but I can't take corners for some reason. And they had a couple of injuries that meant they couldn't take in swingers from both sides. But we clearly decided we're going to take in swingers from both sides, and Wirtz is going to take the other side instead of Szoboszlai. I'm pretty sure Szoboszlai's been taking those recently.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
Szoboszlai's delivery is just a million times better than Wirtz's.
It is.
It just is. And I don't know why we persisted with that, and I don't know why we changed.
My instinct is that they probably wanted Szoboszlai in the middle of the pitch to either convert or to get back in defence if need be. But I think I'm like you in the game where it was seen that set pieces were one of our most reliable sources of attacking threat. Maximise those by getting the guy who's best at it on it 100%.
Yeah, that's what I think. And look, the role that rolls into the second goal even, and again basic mistakes. And I just think if we're looking at bigger picture, what's going on, I think this is where having more new players in the side, trying to play in a different way, the league's a bit different. If you just, again, freeze frame their corner that they effectively score from, you've got Nico Gonzalez and Phil Foden standing on the edge of our box with no Liverpool player within 10 yards of them. And you're like, lads, like we've all been shit footballers in our time and played at shit levels.
Yes.
When I was playing school football, which was a long time ago now, but off a corner, if they had two lads on the edge of your box, with the quality that those footballers have got, especially Foden, he fucking scored two screamers during the week. The first thing you do is go, well, we've got this is a very fundamental thing to say, right? We've got 11 lads and they've got 11 lads. So there shouldn't be two of their best players on the edge of the box completely free. But if you know, something I noticed was, because when you freeze frame, I haven't spent ages looking at this, but if you freeze frame it, we've got a free man at the front post, which is Ekitike. And he's there in that zonal front post position to head away that ball in case, it's a delivery into the box and he can just clear it if it's short. As soon as they take that corner short, for me, he should be looking over his shoulder saying, I need to get out to press. Because now I'm just in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
No.
And that's partly tactical and it's partly instincts because he's a striker, not a defender.
No.
And we saw this through the week, defending against United with players pushing out and all the rest of it. There's just an element of us, I think. I was just thinking to myself, like, what difference would it make for that to have been Luis Diaz, who's got a different mentality about pressing, has been in the side for longer, has got more of an instinct of how we play and all these things. There's just a lot of different parts going on at the moment that all contribute to this, I think.
No, you're right there, and that's what makes it so hard to think about how we're going to come to the end of it. We're going to have to just wear this for a while. A few more things I wanted to shout out. I almost glossed over the only positive thing that happened, which was we actually saved the penalty. Mamardashvili saved the penalty. Just wanted to let you know that's the 9th penalty save of his career. Out of 34, so that's 26%. So 1 in every 4 penalties.
Some record, that is.
That's ridiculous.
I wonder if it's a thing we have like for scouting for our second choice keeper, because Kelleher was just boss at penalties as well. I don't know what his stats are, but they're up there. Did you see the other week? Because he saved a pen against Fernandes, I think, for United. His list of players he saved pens against is like fucking hell. Lad.
Yeah, and Ronaldo for Ireland as well.
I think the list is it's got Ronaldo and Mbappe and Bruno Fernandes on. You're like, fuck me. It's not like he's just saving shitty pens in the Sunday leagues, is it? It's like, but so it's funny we've got another sub keeper who's boss at this, but. There is a thing about Mamardashvili, like Joe. If you go back to last season after we'd bought him, and you see the clips of him, like you see a clip of like, oh my god, look at this save he's made. And now we've seen him in the flesh for longer. I'm like, yeah. It's a bit like when Joe, you get the YouTube video of the boss striker you've just bought, and it's like it would be Barry for Everton. Do you know what I mean? Look at these amazing goals he scored, and yet when you see him in the flesh, you're like, yeah. They didn't show us the shit bits.
No. I'm hoping. I do think Alisson will be back soon. Slot seems to think he'll be back after the international break, but Yeah, it's difficult. He didn't really have much chance with any of the goals, I think, yesterday. But I genuinely think he does still look like a good number 2 rather than a potential future number 1. But that might change over the course of time.
But mate, this is another point, isn't it? And I do think, and his photos there, just because I've not been on, I do want to just mention a few things that, again, they're like you're not allowed to talk about these things, but we have been missing our first choice goalkeeper. Like there was a point, I haven't heard anyone else say this, right? But this might be because I just don't watch enough stuff anymore. But to go back a few weeks to the United game, I don't know whether anyone else got onto this. There was an interview after the game where Van Dijk said out loud, and no one mentioned it. He didn't say he shouldn't have been able to score from that angle, but he said it was a tight angle. So when everyone's slagging Van Dijk off for not pressing and getting to Mbeumo, go back over the years Van Dijk has played with Alisson and look at how many times Van Dijk just stops. And it's clearly been a tactic that you just let them fucking shoot. Why? Because once you've narrowed the angle, you fucking back your goalie because he's absolutely
the best one-on-one
fucking
goalie
boss,
in the world.
and he'll just save it for you. Because guess what? That's what he's there to do.
Yeah.
And if you look at the goal we conceded, the second goal on Saturday, look at the Everton goal last week that they conceded. How many goals are scored by a defender dangling out a leg and it taking a little touch and going in? I think there was a clear message a few years ago of, we don't do that.
Matip used to do it quite a lot, I remember, back in the early days. And then, like you say, yeah, they just stopped doing it.
Just don't do it. You've taken him far enough wide. And if you look at that United goal, if that's Alisson in goal, he saves that. I wouldn't even say 99 times out of 100. I'm saying he saves that like 999 times out of 1,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just saves it because the angle is not... If you look where the ball goes into the goal for that Mbeumo goal, it's practically in the centre of the goal. It goes through Mamardashvili.
Nah.
So there's that. There's all of these things, right? We've missed Gravenberch in key games. The big one, I have to mention this because I haven't been on anything to say it out loud. Like we've got a photo of him there. One of their best mates died. Yeah. Like he fucking. The fact that this just becomes you don't talk about this and you don't mention it and it's not a thing. Like fucking hell. I saw Ian Salmon talking about this on the Anfield Wrap the other week, and he was making a point of going on about it, and I could see Neil was sort of pushing it away.
Yeah.
And I was like, fair play to you, Ian. Like, one of our best players was crying on the pitch after the first game of the season. Can we just stop and think about that? He was crying. He was in visible tears at the end of the game. This is not just something you brush aside. And I think, I love the whole psychology stuff side. I can imagine there's an element of when it's going well, it's like, okay, we just get on with it. As soon as it starts going badly, there'll be a little voice in all of the heads. It's like, does it even fucking matter though?
Yeah. And I think as well on this point is that from what I've heard from people, when it was going bad previously was one of the times when he would be really, really important in the dressing room. He was good at refocusing minds, getting people's minds, bringing back the good vibes sort of thing. So that compounds it when it's just like, oh, well, what did we used to do when we were having a shit result and having a shit time? Oh, we're going to speak to, he's not here anymore. And the thing about this, and the thing that annoys me about this is that it almost feels like you say that we're not allowed to keep referencing it. But just because time has passed does not necessarily mean to say that it's no longer a thing. I think sometimes people think, it's just you're just searching for excuses for bad play, etc., etc. But we can never really know the full impact of it because we weren't there in the dressing room. We can only have our own human reflections. But like you say, all the visible moments of it, you've seen how it has affected these players. And I think I always try to lean towards criticism but not abuse. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everyone should do that anyway. But this year, even more so. Like, the times when you have to say, oh, God, that was annoying, or that was shit, or that guys played badly, or all that kind of stuff. In the back of my mind, I'm always just a bit like, yeah, but I'm not going to hammer them, am I? Like, I don't think we need to hammer them. I think we have to understand that these are human beings who know when things aren't going as they should be going. So we have to cut them that little bit of slack.
100%. And look, I'm segueing out because it's always it's obviously a tough conversation to have whenever we raise it. And off the back of it, something I have loved actually this season is watching Van Dijk come out and properly defend his pack. Do you know what I mean? Did you see the thing? I think it was TNT with Wayne Rooney after the game. I was like, "Fuck me, Virg, you are a fucking hero, mate."
Yeah.
To come out there and just stand next to the guy and go, "It was over the top, mate.
Yeah.
Don't call me out like that. I'll fucking squash you." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, because, yeah, you know, criticize me all you want. Exactly what you're saying. Criticize me all you want for fucking performances. Don't question my integrity.
Yeah.
Cheeky bastard.
That was the thing, wasn't it? It was the whole idea of him saying, "Oh, it's because he's got his new contract."
Got his contract now.
And it's
So
like,
he's not leading the way he did. And Van Dijk's like, you weren't saying that last year when I was
No.
leading into a fucking title, were you?
and almost the thing about that, I always think when players, particularly when players talk about that kind of stuff, is it's almost like you're telling on yourself here a bit, mate.
Yeah. There's definitely a projection thing going on.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to flag up, probably the last thing we'll talk about the game, because I want to do some positive stuff before we leave. The streak is over. And no, I'm not about to take my clothes off. Liverpool had the second longest consistent goal scoring streak in league history. Premier League history, I should point out. So in the 33 seasons of the Premier League, only once has a team had a longer run of scoring in consecutive games, which is Arsenal, who did it in 55 games, which is insane. Liverpool streak ended at 44, which is over a season. So that defeat at home to Nottingham Forest that everyone will never forget, and Slots references on almost a bi-weekly basis, that was the last time Liverpool went into a Premier League game and didn't score a goal until yesterday. And so that
wild, that, isn't it?
It's nuts. So win, lose, or draw, it's Liverpool are going to score, which means that essentially, if you keep a clean sheet, you win the game. Like, that is such an amazing weapon to have in your armory, and to have it for so long. It's amazing.
Well, this is the point I made on Saturday night about before we then fucking collapsed again on Sunday. When I was saying I think we could still win the league, because I think, and this sounds like a mad thing to say after the performance on Sunday, but I think a team that has its attack right is closer to being a great team than a team that has its defence right, because it's easier to sort your defence than it is to sort your attack. And especially, you can see, I've got a lot of sympathy for Slot, because you can see what he's trying to do based on what happened in the end of last season, which he's referenced loads. Like, he came into the league and he has seen it visibly. He came into the league, everybody had the mentality, Liverpool are going to be shit because Klopp's gone. Who's this fucking mug who's come in? We'll go at them. So for the first half of the season, Slot was like, sound, we'll twat yous.
Yeah.
And then as everyone got onto the fact that, oh no, we've got better, they started to play differently against us. So he has constantly referenced how this way of playing against Liverpool started at the end of last season. So they've gone into the summer going, we need to find new ways, especially because we're losing Trent, who's one of our most creative players. We need to find new ways to break down low blocks. And that's what the likes of Slot and Guardiola are doing, which, if you, again, look at the underlying stats, apart from not putting the ball in the back of the net, we have been doing. We are creating the most chances from open play.
Yep.
Arsenal, on the other hand, I didn't say this on Saturday night, and I wish I had, because it would have gone down well in front of a live crowd. People keep referencing Arsenal like Mourinho's Chelsea. It is the biggest load of bullshit I have ever heard. They may have a defensive record like Mourinho's Chelsea, but let's remember what Mourinho's Chelsea were like the first iteration in attack. Duff, Robben, Drogba, Lampard, Essien. They would rip you a fucking part.
Yes.
Arsenal are fucking shit a lot of the time, creatively. They are relying on set pieces, even against Sunderland, screamers.
Yeah.
We know those things dry up. They just do. It happened last year. You will not go. The record they've got from scoring from corners at the start of this season will not continue at that rate all season. Can you imagine what their stats would end up at if they carried on scoring from corners at the rate they are? It just won't happen. So unless they all of a sudden evolve into a team that is massively creative, the team that, again, and this might be an unpopular comparison, especially for people of our generation, they actually remind me more of Benitez's Liverpool. Because when we couldn't win the league under Benitez, remember that season, it wasn't because we lost loads of games. It's because we drew so many. And I just see Arsenal getting to a point where they draw a lot of games because they'll be solid defensively, but they're not creating enough to score goals, and people will start figuring out how to stop them scoring from corners, or those corners goals will just dry up. So I do see that drying up a little bit for them. And I think the sad thing is, if we could sort ourselves out, there is still a league to be won. I just think yesterday sort of suggests we may be a bit further away from sorting ourselves out defensively than we thought.
Yeah, in terms of the league still being there to be won, our good friends at Opta, the supercomputer, seems to think that 7% chance of winning the league, which I think feels about right. Third highest out of everyone still. Second after City is 23%, Arsenal 63%. I mean, there's still technically 81 points to play for, but 8-point gap feels like a lot.
Well, did you put this in here, or did I see it somewhere else? I saw what Opta's predicting points will win the league. It had Arsenal on 80 points to win the league, and you're like, this is my point. I've been my ex's brother-in-law got on really well with, and he's an Arsenal fan. So I've got that thing of like, I've got this throughout the years. There were mates who's a United fan, or my brother and nephew are Evertonians. So there's always that bit of, well, if they do win the league, I'm made up for him. It sort of takes the edge off it. But I've said to him over the last couple of years, that this hard line story of Arsenal not winning the league yet is mental. They haven't broken 90 points yet. To go into a Premier League season thinking you can win the league with less than 90 points is mad. Now, if they win the league with 80 or just above 80, that's wild in itself.
Yeah, it's going back to the 90s of Ferguson's year. But what it tells me, and what I say to people, I was having an argument with someone earlier today about how Liverpool only won the league last year because the rest of the Premier League was rubbish. It's like, well, no. If you're saying the rest of the Premier League is rubbish just based on points total, what that actually means is that other teams were harder to beat. There's no 4-0, 5-0 every week in, week outs anymore. There's no easy games anymore. If you look at the teams who just come up, we mentioned Sunderland, Burnley and Leeds, they're all winning games now. So like, there really is no easy games. So the league's actually got better in that way, but that's not good for the teams at the top. But the thing about a low points total, as you reference, is that it means that it's not insurmountable. And I should probably point out as well, Liverpool have lost 5 games this season. There have been 6 times in the 38-game season era where a team has won the league with more defeats than that. Only one more. But it's possible. If you think Liverpool can go the rest of the season only losing one more game, then maybe you should not rule them out of the title race.
That's the big question. As you were saying that, lad, then I was like, I would probably put up me and you in like maybe the top 5% of optimistic Liverpool fans. Do we think we could go the rest of the season only lose one game? Something mad would have to happen, wouldn't it? Like, I think one of the worrying things for I keep going back to the same point, I know, but it's like a therapy session, isn't it? That one of the things that worried me on Sunday was we're back to seeing like why we needed a new left back. Like, I think we were all getting a bit, and again, I'm probably projecting, I was getting carried away with Robertson should still be our first choice, and Kirker is the little mad bastard. Why do we always buy little mad bastard left backs? What is it about left backs being little mad bastards? He looks like a little mad bastard. And I know for Bournemouth, we're like, he's good. And now we're seeing him for us, and we're like, is he a Liverpool left back? Like, it's very early, give him time, let him settle in, all the rest of it. And at the same time, we are seeing that, like, Slot made this point as well, in fairness. It wasn't just Robbo playing 3 games in a week, because he played in the Palace game before it, and he's been playing his international games. Mm-hmm. So he has still played a lot of football, and he looks knackered. So we need a solution to that. We need a solution to the Konate mystery. I mean, positives. So came back to positives before. Conor Bradley's had a great week. He has. Hasn't he? He has. And look, I think sometimes as a fullback, and Trent never got this grace, despite how great he was as a player. Sometimes as a fullback playing against the great winger, you're just going to get beaten. Do you know what I mean? When we talk about John Barnes came up a lot on Saturday night, didn't he? Like, we'll probably talk about him later on. But whenever you're raving about John Barnes, you're never going, those fullbacks were shit though, were they?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I think how many fullbacks got skinned by John Barnes and just went,
Yeah.
come on. I love one of my favourite reference points, and he jokes about it himself, is the Carragher against Henry thing against Highbury, where he literally falls on his arse. Like one of Liverpool's greatest ever centre-backs, won the Champions League, won all kinds of things. Sometimes an attacker just makes you look like a tit.
Yeah.
Bradley was good again against Doku. Doku just had one of those games where you're like, fuck me. Mate.
I think so. And the volume of times he had to face him, a player of that level, meant that, you know, eventually there's going to be some that he gets through, and he was getting through more and more. But I've been to see City 3 times this season, and despite the fact that they've got a fella who scored 19 goals in 15 games, I think Doku's been their best player this season.
Really?
Yeah.
That good?
He's been that good. He's been that dangerous every time. So, yeah, shout out to Connor. And shout out to Mary Beth Malloy, who's thrown in at $19.99. Thank you for my therapy today. Appreciate you always talking sense. Well, thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Not everybody in the comments seems to agree, but I'm not going to do a Robbo start calling out idiots for their idiotic opinions. I'm just going to let it lie. And yes, we've got...
I want to know them now, though. I love them. I love it. In a different way to Robbo loving it. I love it just for sadistic reasons.
I mean, I feel like that's his fuel. It's his spinach for when he wants to become Popeye.
That's a great point, isn't it? Yeah. That is Robbo with comments on the internet is like Popeye with spinach. Fucking hell, mate. We should do someone who's boss at art do a drawing of that.
Please.
That'd be fucking brilliant.
Or if you do it on AI anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, that could be the new ad for the show.
Absolutely. So we've got about 5 minutes or so before we get to the hour. So I do want to talk a little bit about the show on Saturday. We're going to do more of it in the subscriber show because we've still got loads from that in the agenda. But it was so much fun, and for a little bit of vindication for me as well, because I have been on Robbo in particular saying, we should do a live show. We should do a live show. We should do a live show. And he's like, but will people come? And I'm like, yeah, they'll come. Yeah, they'll come. And then we announced it, and then the tickets sold out really quickly. And then we almost forgot about it for about a month, because just like in the rickroll of doing shows and other shows and other shows. And then this week it was like, oh shit, we get to do this live show. Oh yeah. And yeah, shout out to every single one of you who came down. Some of you were queuing there for like 40 minutes before we opened the doors. Everyone was there ready to have a laugh, ready to enjoy themselves. Shout out to Sunderland for your late equaliser as well. I'm sure that helped a little bit. But yeah, it was just an all-round good vibe, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, mate. So fair play to you for getting Robbo to agree to it. Because I mentioned it to him ages ago when it was like, could tell he wasn't really up for it. And I was like, I'd love to do live shows. Like that's what I'd like to do now. So yeah, fair play to you, mate, for getting it sorted, and for everyone who helped out organising it, and the crowd. Yeah, everyone who came down, it was great. You know, we all got a lot of love, which is very, very nice. Did you meet the couple who came from Birmingham?
Yes, I did.
Unbelievable. Fair play to you two for coming up well in. And yeah, it was just boss, wasn't it? It was really. So if you didn't come, and I'm sure you're going to do them again.
Yes, we will.
You missed out. It was a great night and a good laugh. So yeah, really, I enjoyed it. Did you?
Yeah, so much. I mean, obviously, I should point out the fact that it was also my birthday, which got a few mentions over the course of the evening.
The bit with your cake. Someone asked me today, was it filmed? And I was like, it was filmed. I don't know what the plan is for it being released or not, but the candle on your cake, I was like, oh my God. As you were trying to blow it out, it was like it was like a fucking firework. The people on the front row, as you were trying to blow it out, were genuinely frightened that they were going to be caught on fire.
Well, I mean, I was thinking that like it could have just toppled off and it could have been a disaster. But the reason behind that, so Lindsay, when it was her birthday, we had a birthday brunch for her. On her birthday, the end of September, and I surprised her at the end with a kind of, it wasn't a cake, it was more like a waffle, but it had one of those massive sparklers in it, and there's a picture of her just kind of going. So she obviously thought, oh no, I'll do. Yeah, nice. We'll get it back on one of those. But yeah, harder than it looks to blow out.
You did well. Honestly, I thought we were going to be there all night. I'd have given up on that. Your lung capacity to get it to stay out.
Yeah.
Fair play.
I mean, that's what quitting smoking does, I guess. But yeah, so shout out to Lindsay. I want to give out some other shout outs. Shout out to Paul Connor for playing the tunes in between our show and then the second part of the show.
Yeah,
it was
brilliant.
fantastic. He's down at the Albert after every game, so get down and watch him if you can. Shout out to these two fellas over here, Jim and Dave, for all of their hard work behind the scenes. And just in general, shout out to them anyway, because whenever we have a harebrained scheme, they're always like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
I love that about Jim and Dave.
Yeah,
just
so-
that'll be sound like it. Nice.
Just the perfect people to work with us. So shout out to you two. Shout out to Paula and to Lindsay again for helping with stuff on the door and with selling mugs. Shout out to Kev and all the staff down at the Handyman, even the two of them who are Evertonians and just couldn't resist mentioning it to me. Shout out to you, obviously you and Stu for coming down and joining the show. That was your contributions really helped at times when we needed to kind of bring Robbo down from the ceiling. We were calling him Victor Belgium on the day because he's passionate, I think it's fair to say, but there are some times when he just kind of goes off on his soapbox a little bit too much.
I'd have loved to have though, because I love it when we get to do this like live in front of an audience. Do you know what I mean? Like we hadn't discussed it. I'd sent Robbo, he'd sent me the agenda, and on the Saturday morning I just sent him a message saying, mate, just as like an observation, do what you want with it. It's your show, blah, blah, blah. I think there might be too much like miserable stuff, like negativity. You were doing this like pumping everyone up at the start, and then we're going into white football shit, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. He wasn't happy about that, was he?
No, he wasn't. And continue to reference it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's the yin and yang of what we do, really,
100%,
isn't it? And
that's right, yeah,
I
sure.
think everybody understands that, and everybody kind of knows and loves him for... And like I said, he's fighting the good fight for a reason. And
Absolutely.
ultimately, it is a good thing. But yeah, it's also funny in that respect. I should probably give the last shout out to the unofficial new member of the Late Challenge gang, Mick McCarthy, whose fingerprints were literally all over the damn place. I don't know if you know this, but originally that cake was meant to be one with Mick McCarthy's face on it.
Was it?
Yes.
Brilliant.
It was just, unfortunately, they couldn't do it. So,
How did you get the video?
so a good friend of mine, Keith, who has worked with Mick on quite a few different projects, I mentioned it to him maybe 2 months ago, and he was like, leave it with me, leave it with me, leave it with me. And then on Friday, he called me up and said, I'm here with Mick in the car now. And so basically, I just had a chat with him, telling him about how much he's been a part of our show without him realising it, and how amazing it would be, and how it would absolutely blow Robbo's mind to get a message from him. And he was like, yeah, sound. And he was mentioned that he's got his podcast. We should shout out his podcast again. The managers, him and Tony Pulis, which I don't know if you've seen it yet. Definitely worth a watch.
Is it good? Yeah.
Them two have got some stories.
Oh, nice.
It's amazing.
That's awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Fair play for doing that as well. So, just so you know, for anyone who wasn't there, Mo got Mick McCarthy to send a video that they played on the night, which is just fucking unbelievable.
Yes. We've put it out on our socials over the course of today. So if you haven't seen it yet, go there, watch it, like it, and love it. And hopefully, who knows? It might not be the last time we get the big man on the show. Wait and see. But yeah, that has been this hour. We will talk a little bit more about live show. We'll go into some of the controversial moments in terms of the 5 sides that were picked as part of the quiz. And
We can do a full hour on that, by the way.
we might well do a large proportion of the hour on that. There were also some questions. We handed around a notepad on the day saying if you've got questions for us, put them in and we'll ask some of those. Some of them didn't get asked, so we will be doing some of that on the show as well. But if you aren't a subscriber yet, you know what you have to do by now. You've heard me say it. You've heard Robbo say it. Come over to Patreon. It is £4 a month. That works out at less than £1 a week if you consider that some weeks have 5 weeks. And you get every single show we've ever done to backlog. All of the good stuff. If you haven't done that yet, come over and we'll be discussing all of this extra stuff. But for now, we've made it. We won't have to hear the words Man City 3, Liverpool 0 again for another 2 weeks, unless you're me and have to go and talk about it tomorrow. KP, thank you so much for stepping in. As always,
my pleasure.
You have been a joy to do this with, and so have you. We'll see you again later.